3. Anonymous letters from the apartment. Next door I, Julia, have always cherished the peace and quiet of my fifth-floor apartment. A minimalist, clean space, just like the design projects I created. It was 2025, and life was following its predictable rhythm. But a few weeks ago, a nagging feeling of unease started to creep in. It wasn't from outside, but from the apartment next door, 3B. I didn't know the neighbor. He was too silent. I never heard music or voices. Just a thick, almost unnatural silence. It all started with a simple knock. Soft. On my door. I opened it. No one was there. Just a letter on the floor. No sender. No stamp. The handwriting was elegant, but a little shaky. Julia, I know you're alone there. Don't worry. I'm here to keep you company. My heart raced. Company? I'd lived alone for years. It sent a chill down my spine. I looked at the door of apartment 3B. Closed. Still. Its quietness seemed to mock. Me. The first letter. A warning. Or a promise. That day, I felt a strange sense of being watched. In my bedroom, the reflection of my bedside lamp in the window seemed more alive, almost like an eye. The hum of my refrigerator in the kitchen, once background noise, now sounded like a constant murmur. I tried to ignore it. This is cognitive dissonance, I told myself. My mind is looking for a logical explanation for what's illogical. But the discomfort stayed. The smell of old paper and a subtle mustiness seemed to have filled the air in my apartment, even though I cleaned religiously. Thumper. Second letter came a week later. Again, a soft knock on the door, and there it was. Another thick paper, with the same smell. You're changing, Julia. I see it. Your furniture isn't the same anymore. Don't trust what you see. I laughed, nervously. My furniture? It had been there for years, unmoved. What was he saying? This was gaslighting, I realized. A trick to make me doubt my own reality. He wanted to confuse me. My mind was my only refuge. I started noticing strange things, small details. The frame of a picture in the living room, which I was sure was straight, appeared crooked. My closet door, which I swore I'd closed, was slightly open. Nothing serious. Nothing I couldn't blame on tiredness, on my anxiety, but the frequency with which it happened, and the whispers. Now they were clearer. Not words, but a kind of lament coming from the wall that separated my bedroom from apartment 3B. A damp sound, almost a cry. One night I tried to sleep. The silence from apartment 3B seemed to scream. The whispers grew louder, becoming a muffled chorus. They seemed to call my name. Julia. Julia. I got out of bed, the sheet tangled around my legs. I went to the wall, put my ear against it. The musty smell grew stronger. I felt a vibration. Faint, but real. That place, that neighbor, was not normal. And I was being pulled into something. I decided to confront it. I knocked on 3B's door. Once, twice, 3 times. Nothing. The silence returned, heavier than before. It was as if the door itself absorbed the sound. My paranoia was at its peak. I started to distance myself from people. My friends called, but I barely answered. You're acting strange, Julia, they said. I knew. I felt it. Fear was isolating me, consuming me from the inside. The third letter came 2 days later. It was bigger, thicker, heavier. The smell of mold, almost unbearable. I opened it with trembling hands. The handwriting was distorted, almost unreadable, but the message was clear. I need you, Julia. I'm so lonely. You're the only one who hears me. Come. The door is open. It always has been. My blood ran cold. The door was open? I had never seen 3B's door open. Never. I rushed to my door and looked at the neighbor's door. It wasn't open, but there was a crack. A tiny crack that hadn't been there before. A thin line of darkness that seemed to breathe. I went there. I put my eye to the crack. Total darkness. A sweet, sickening smell hit me. And then, I heard it. Clearly. A voice. The neighbor's voice. A heavy dragging sound coming from inside the apartment. And the whispers. Thousands of them, screaming, terrified. They seemed to beg for help. I recoiled. What was that? Was I losing my mind? Or was the house next door a private hell? I called the police. My hands trembled so much I could barely dial. I explained the situation, the letters, the sounds, the smell. The dispatcher seemed skeptical, but promised to send a patrol car. I waited. Every minute was an eternity. The whispers from my bedroom wall were now a chorus of despair. I understood them. They were voices of lament. Julia, Julia. A knock on the door, a relief. But it wasn't the police, it was a different sound. Softer. And a voice. A child's voice. Calling me. Coming from inside my apartment. I looked at the kitchen door, which was slightly ajar. Slowly, a small rag doll, one of those old ones, with one eye missing, rolled into the middle of the room. It wasn't there before. It was Anna's doll, my childhood doll, the one that was stored at my parents' house. At the same time, I heard the police siren. Despair. I looked at the doll, and at the crack in the door of 3B, which now seemed bigger, more inviting. The doll's voice, in the middle of the room, was the voice of a crying child. Mommy, he got me. The sound of heavy footsteps approaching the door of 3B. The crack, slowly opening. The darkness inside seemed alive. The police broke down the door of 3B. The smell, unbearable. A mixture of mold, decaying flesh, and something sweet, almost like old flowers. I couldn't go in, but I listened. The police talking. There were scratch marks all over the walls, and the objects, thousands of them, arranged in niches. In each one, a small rag doll, glass eyes that seemed to follow me, and in one of the niches, a perfect miniature of my apartment, with a doll identical to mine. And the neighbor? There was no body, just a diary, 100-year-old diary. The last pages told the story of a man obsessed with lost souls, with capturing the essence of whoever lived in each apartment. He fed on loneliness, on anguish, a collector of souls and objects. He was gaslighting in person, twisting the reality of his victims. He was cognitive dissonance incarnate. The police never found the neighbor, nor the source of the smell, nor the other victims. The house was sealed. But the feeling of emptiness in apartment 3B, it wasn't abandonment. It was presence. Today, I live in another apartment, far away from Acacia Street. But sometimes, when night falls and silence settles in, I swear I hear a whisper. Not from the walls, but coming from inside my own mind. You are mine. You hear me now. And on my shelf, a small wooden rocking horse, an old gift from my father, seems to vibrate softly. Its painted eyes now seem to observe me with a cold, dark intelligence. I'm not alone anymore. He hears me, and I hear him, always. The terror from the apartment next door became the terror within me.
Shared dreams with an unknown neighbor. I, Helena, always looked for comfort in new places, in new beginnings. My new apartment on the fourth floor was the perfect spot. It was beautiful, roomy, with a city view that brought me peace. It was late 2025, and as a freelance graphic designer, I really needed that quiet to do my creative work. The neighbor in apartment 4A, a retired psychoanalyst named Dr. Arthur, seemed to be the picture of calmness. He was a kind man, with a warm smile and eyes that were, perhaps, a little too intense for my liking. The weirdness started subtly, little bits and pieces. I'd sleep, and I'd always dream. And the dreams were incredibly vivid. Too much so. They weren't completely mine. They were unfamiliar places, faces I'd never seen, fears that didn't belong to me. These were dreams of panic, of mazes, of voices calling my name. I'd wake up with a chill down my spine, a cold sweat. But the most upsetting thing wasn't the dream itself, but the smell. A scent of incense, sweet and heavy, that seemed to hang in my apartment when I woke up, coming from apartment 4A. One day in the elevator, Dr. Arthur smiled. "Good dreams, Helena? I hope so. Dreams are portals, aren't they? Windows to the unconscious." My heart sped up. I barely knew him. How would he know about my dreams? I tried to make sense of it. He was a psychoanalyst, after all. Maybe he just had sharp observation skills. But the phrase, windows to the unconscious, kept repeating in my mind. It was as if he knew exactly what I was feeling, what I was experiencing. The strangeness deepened. The dreams became more frequent, more real. They seemed to pick up right where they left off. I was in a dark forest, with twisted trees, being chased by something I couldn't see. And when I woke up, the smell of incense was stronger, and a sudden sleepiness would wash over me, pulling me back to the edge of sleep. I started to feel completely exhausted, drained. The fear of sleeping took hold. I tried to talk to my friend Laura. "Helena, you're stressed. It's the move. New apartment, anxiety. This is all cognitive dissonance, your mind trying to make sense of something that has no logical explanation." She was practical, but she wasn't there, feeling the chill, the smell of incense that seemed to suffocate my own thoughts. One night, I heard a sound. A soft, strange melody coming from apartment 4A. An old lullaby, almost like a whisper. The exact same song I had dreamed. Exactly the same. The dreams became more intense, more violent. They weren't just places. They were memories of other people. I felt pain, grief, overwhelming joy, and then a cold, indescribable terror. They were like puzzle pieces that didn't fit into my life. I'd wake up feeling like I had lived another existence while I slept. And always the smell of incense. One day, Dr. Arthur invited me for tea. I hesitated, but curiosity and the fear of sleeping pushed me to accept. His apartment was spotless, filled with old statues, dusty books, and of course, the sweet, heavy scent of incense. He served me tea. "To calm your nerves, my dear," he said with a smile. As I drank, he talked about dreams, about Jung's archetypes, about how the collective unconscious connects us. He spoke of lucid dreams, of being able to guide the minds of others into his own dream world. My head started spinning. A deep drowsiness came over me. I tried to fight it, but my eyelids felt so heavy. "Dr. Arthur, what's happening?" I whispered. He smiled, his eyes shining with an intensity I had never noticed before. "I'm just sharing, Helena. Sharing your burdens, your life. After all, it's so lonely to dream alone, isn't it?" I was trapped. My attempts to get help were useless. Laura tried to calm me down, but she didn't grasp the depth of the terror. She talked about stress, about burnout. I felt trapped, watched, manipulated. The whispers in my dreams now mixed with Dr. Arthur's voice, calm but dangerous. He was using my dreams to sneak in, to consume me. This was shared psychosis, but I was the only one who knew. Or who was falling into it. I tried to force myself not to sleep. Days and nights I stayed awake, fueled by caffeine and adrenaline. But my body eventually gave in. And every time I closed my eyes, it was like a portal to the nightmare. I saw the dark forest from my dreams. And suddenly, there was Dr. Arthur, no longer kind, but with a chilling smile. He chased me, and the voices in the dreams screamed. They were the voices of the people from the dreams, the victims. They were the souls he had taken over. The climax happened in the early hours of the morning. I woke with a start, but I wasn't in my room. I was in the nightmare forest. I could smell the damp earth, feel the cold of the night, and I saw him. Behind a twisted tree, Dr. Arthur, standing, watching me. His eyes didn't shine with kindness, but with an ancient hunger. He wasn't dreaming. He was there, and so was I. You are a blank canvas, Helena. The perfect canvas for my memories, my desires. So that I don't dream alone, he said, his voice a dark echo. He reached out his hand, and I felt my body freeze. He wanted to pull me completely into his dream world, to trap my consciousness just as he had done with others. I was the next one. I don't know how, but I managed to scream. Not a real voice, but a scream that tore through the air of the dream. My own scream. I woke up, sweaty, breathless. My apartment was silent, but the smell of incense was overpowering. Too strong. I went to the door of 4A. There was no crack. The door was closed. But on the doorstep there was a small object. A silver ring with a strange symbol, almost a twisted knot. It wasn't mine. I ran to my door. I left the apartment. I never looked back. I moved to another city, another state. But the feeling that I'm not alone has never left me. Sometimes when I close my eyes, the dream landscapes of other people still float in my mind, and the smell of incense sometimes appears out of nowhere. On my new bookshelf, a small old book about folklore and dreams, which I don't remember buying, seems to have a marked page. A page about folie à deux, shared psychosis. And there, hand-drawn, is the symbol from the ring. I'm not alone anymore. My dreams were never just mine again. And somewhere Dr. Arthur is still dreaming, and I somehow am there too.